Mahadevan for being here for this book launch event. It is actually not even about writing a book, but also about being able to translate what has been asked to shorter videos to be able to communicate to an audience which values that. So those are things that Balu has done in the last 1 year, and I think this book will serve as a reference point for coming back and reminiscing what we have done past. Not only about a history, we look back at a rearview mirror, not so much to drive backwards. We look at the rearview mirror to be able to drive forward better. So the rearview mirror that Balu brings about is also about helping us drive better as we move forward. So it's a great rearview mirror for India's digital banking and payment systems, and I wish this book serves as a good reference point for not only academics but also policy. Thank you very much.
This is not a book about one product or one service. It is not a book about UPI alone, not about a single institution. Rather, it is a book about India's digital payments transformation as a whole. At its core, it is a book about how India built digital payments as public infrastructure through institutional design, governance, and careful sequencing, rather than through any one technology or product. Therefore, especially meaningful to have our chief guest with us today, someone who has spent a lifetime building institutions that endure, who served as chairman of NPCI during his formative years, and who has graciously written the foreword to the book. The vision and the foundation laid during his early years have had a lasting influence and have played a significant role in shaping NPCI to what it is today. Thank you, sir. I look forward to the conversations. Sir, you have graciously written the foreword to this book, and I have seen this journey closely over many years. Before I move into the conversation, may I invite you to share your opening reflections on the book? Thank you.
Well, this is a very important book because there is enough value in it, and it is even more important because India has become the leader in the digital world today. As I was reading somewhere, India's the digital transactions are something like 4 times that of the US and Europe combined, and that is extraordinary. And also, like, to be able to handle 20 plus billion transactions in a month, I mean, that is extraordinary. To build technology that has the resilience to handle that volume, to do it in a very smart way, thanks to extraordinary people like Sri Gandhi and other leaders of RBI, and thanks to the extraordinary wisdom of Sri Balachandran, from which all of us benefited. I was very lucky to have worked with him for several years. So I think there is a lot of value in the book, both for learning about a very important paradigm of the current century, which is digital payment systems, and at the same time how every one of us, through smartness, hard work, and discipline, can indeed reach the pinnacle of our aspirations. That's what I would say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that. The first question is about the book and the institutional memory, sir.
Yeah.
You were kind enough to write the foreword for the book. From your perspective, why is it important to document India's digital payment journey? Not merely as a technology success, but as a story of institution building.
Well, technology in some way is a perishable commodity, particularly in the era that we live in. Things change rapidly. Technology changes rapidly. For example, all of you know that one of the challenges that people have today is buying which NVIDIA chip that you want to buy, because by the time you get it installed and all of that, a new version would have come up. So in such an era, the only constant for us is change. It is, and fortunately for us, in the West, there are a lot of books that have been written on various technologies. That's, available. We can all benefit from that. However, for various reasons, India has not been a written tradition or an oral tradition. So therefore, this brings out the complexity of working in teams, the kind of encouragement that an institution like RBI provided, how RBI was such a fantastic catalytic enabler, because I was the first chairman and I benefited a lot on the one hand from the wisdom of the governor and the deputy governor and all of that. These are all things that have to be documented, and that's what, therefore, I do believe that documenting institutional memory, documenting the interaction of personalities, documenting the strengths and foibles of leaders, documenting the constraints posed by the context, all these are as important as technology. So I do believe that we need books like this so that the foundation of India's progress even further will rest on such wonderful knowledge.
Thank you, sir. That's wonderful. Thank you. Now, I get to the question on leadership, regulators, and founding institutions. Right? Looking back at the creation of institutions like NPCI, sir, and the broader digital payment ecosystem, what were the most important leadership choices, and how did regulators like RBI, the promoter banks, and Indian Bank Association, and the founding teams together contribute to building institutions that earned trust and endured over time?
Well, continuing from what I said earlier, this book in some way describes the organizational choreography of this wonderful dance played by RBI, NPCI, the wonderful banks of which the several chairpersons are here, and of course individuals. If I'm not wrong, there are somewhere around 500 banks which are members of the entire platform. And what is very important is the role of the Reserve Bank of India as a catalytic and very paternal and kind enabler. Since I was the chairman, and since Mr. Balachandran and I were in some way interfacing with the RBI, we can say very confidently that the role of RBI was extremely important in this, and they encouraged us very, very positively. The second thing that I am most impressed with the masterstroke that RBI played in this game was making it a public good. The entire core of the UPI was made a public good. It was made it was really an open system. And by doing this, what they did was, they made it least expensive for every user. I don't know if there is any other nation in the world where access to banking, access to the devices of UPI as inexpensive as is in India. And that credit must go to RBI. There is absolutely no doubt. But the characteristic of a confident leader, which RBI has been, is to be able to listen to cogent arguments from the followers and then accept when they have merit. That's the other thing. The third thing is, they decided that this particular core cannot be used for rent seeking. Therefore, they made the core an open system. They made the core a technology that is least expensive, a technology that the poorest Indian can indeed aspire to use. All of that has happened thanks to this. And thereby, what they did was, they earned the trust of common man. You know, a couple of years ago, I had taken a friend of mine, Montek Singh Ahluwalia, to Mysore, and as we were climbing the Chamundi Hill, there was a coconut vendor, and we bought some coconut water and all, and we used UPI, and Montek was very, very impressed. You know, this guy is just selling coconuts, and the whole transaction was cashless. And that, I think, is, I don't know, particularly the youngsters assembled here must understand that when you have leaders who have a broad vision, who have high aspirations, who are well-intentioned, how such leaders can indeed transform the aspirations of the nation and become leaders in the progress. And this is a classical example to me. And of course, there have been many other players. My own colleague Nandan Nilekani has played a very important role by bringing in Aadhaar and all of that. So I think the RBI's role was being a catalytic, kind, gentle, and wise enabler rather than just being a regulator. I think that to me is the most important thing.
Wonderful. Talked about frugality, you know, the way in which we do NPCI. You talked about cost of transactions. And I had the opportunity to look at the 24-25 balance sheet of NPCI.
Yeah.
NPCI does 230 billion transactions for a 2,300 crores expense, which means they're able to do a transaction at 10 paise per transaction. Of this 10 paise, if you remove the marketing expenses, actually the operating cost of transaction is only 5 paise per transaction. I have reflected that in the book. So I think if other countries can learn one lesson, it is this lesson: how do you build frugal systems for the benefit of the nation? And you hit that point very rightly, sir.
Absolutely.
Now let me go to the next question, sir. You know, this about public infrastructure versus private innovation.
Yeah.
Right? I think we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah.
India's digital payment success rests on distinctive balance between public infrastructure and combined with private innovation at the edges. Right?
You know,
how do you view this balance? You know, what lessons does it offer other sectors or even other countries?
Well, I think the most important lesson is by making the core a public good, the costs become low, you prevent monopolies, and you give a platform for innovation. You truly create a platform where many people can compete and provide newer and better ideas. That's exactly what has happened in this case. To give you another analogy, what Sri Gandhi and others in his position did was they provided an excellent, safe, very sturdy railway line. And then they said, now folks, you private sector guys, go ahead and build whatever comfortable train you want, and it will go on that. So they combined the best of the public sector, the best of public good, with the best of private sector innovation. Combining innovation with a sturdy, safe thing is, I think, what makes this whole thing very impressive. And I think this is a very important lesson for all the nations to do that. But again, for all of that to happen, you need very good quality leaders who create this public good. And that, fortunately, has happened in this case.
Now, we talked about institution, scale, responsibility, future and all that, right? One problem which today we see is the scale and resilience of the system. So my next question is about scale, responsibility and the future, right? As a digital systems scale and become systematically important, issues like resilience, inclusion and trust comes to the forefront. In your view, what should leaders and institutions be most mindful as they grow at scale?
Well, I would say there are two issues that the leaders in this area should be concerned with. The first is we have to move from this importance that we have given to scale. And NPCI has done a great job, no doubt about it. 230 billion transactions a year is not a small number. That, I think, you have been very, very successful. But now your focus will have to be on resilience. How do you make it safe? How do you make it absolutely private? How do you make sure that there are no leakages? How do you make sure that you enhance the trust in the architecture of this whole system so that every Indian, 1.4 billion Indians, of course now we have sold it to about 20 and odd countries outside. Therefore, all these users must say, if you want to see an example of population scale, highly safe, digital payment system, you should talk to NPI. I think that is your challenge now. That is, how do you get to a 6-digit accuracy, 99.9999999, etc. Because you've already achieved in some way very good scale. But your challenge is, how do you make sure that the failures, if any, are beyond, or 2 sigma. I don't need to say that, you understand it very well. We have to get to 2 sigma in terms of this one. The second issue that you may want to be considered is this whole issue of digital stratification. That is, you have to make sure that while your costs are going up, while inflation is taking playing its role, while imports are becoming more expensive because our rupee is going down, all of that is happening. At the same time, we cannot have a situation where India will be divided into two classes of people: those with access to digital payment system and those who will not have access to that. And for that to happen, you must continue the extraordinary work that you have done so far in terms of providing an inexpensive, highly safe, population scale system. So don't allow cause to divide India into two classes, and at the same time focus on your safety, fault tolerance, and all of that.
Wonderful. So now let's move to compassionate capitalism and societal good. Right? We do see that in many countries, including in India, a lot of industries becoming either monopoly or duopoly. Right? It's creating a challenge for us. So you have often spoken about compassionate capitalism and responsibility of the enterprise to serve society as well. Right? Across industries and sectors, how should leaders balance scale, efficiency and innovation with a broader societal good rather than serving only the shareholders?
Well, I think it's more than 50 years ago I defined the term compassionate capitalism. To me, compassionate capitalism is using the principles of capitalism in maximizing the value delivered to the stakeholders, not just shareholders, while ensuring that all stakeholders are provided the facilities that the corporation provides. Now, when I say stakeholders, I always said this for a long time. Customers, I always put employees number 2, not investors. Customers, employees, investors, vendor partners, government of the land, and the society. In all these cases, we have to conduct ourselves so that we earn the respect of these stakeholders. Why do we need the respect of these stakeholders? Very simple. If customers respect you, it means that you have delivered whatever you promised them on time, within budget, and with the requisite quality. Otherwise, customers won't respect you. If employees, and once customers respect you, they will automatically refer other customers to you. So your growth becomes easier. If employees respect you, that means you have been fair, you have been transparent, the ratio of the highest compensation to the lowest is acceptable, all of that. Then your employees will refer other good prospective employees to your organization. That means your cost of hiring, your retention, and the cost of hiring will become lower, your retention will become higher. Investors, you will have long-term investors if they respect you. Vendor partners will understand if you have a bad time and put up with some delays in payment because they know that you are basically a decent company. And then government of the land, my own personal experience has been that if you conduct yourself so that your actions earn the respect of bureaucrats and politicians, I tell you, they will encourage you, they will encourage your industry to grow. I mean, this is very important for the students who are present here. And finally, society is the most important stakeholder because society contributes customers, society contributes employees, society contributes investors, society contributes vendor partners, society elects politicians, and society contributes bureaucrats. So therefore, respect from the society is the most important thing. What that means is the poorest citizen in the country has to feel very comfortable in using your system, has to benefit from the extraordinary value that you add. So that to me is compassionate capitalism. Frankly, a lot of people say that no, it is different from Milton Friedman's focus. No, Milton Friedman, all that he said was that, look, you choose whosoever your stakeholders are. And at the end of the day, you spend so much of money in advertisement. So all that he said was focus on the entire set of stakeholders. And once you keep that as your important objective, then you will be beneficial. The second thing is, as I said earlier, it is very important that any NPCI and other institutions, they should not allow digital stratification to happen. And that will only happen if you keep costs under control, if you ensure that you understand the needs of the poorer sections of the society, the bottom of the period, as CK used to say. I think if you did that, you will earn the respect of the society, and that's all what compassionate capitalism is about. And the leaders of compassionate capitalism have to make an effort to lead as simple a life as possible, because in a country like India where there is so much poverty around us, and you have a huge responsibility to take compassionate capitalism further and further and further, because capitalism is what will encourage entrepreneurship, because capitalism consists of entrepreneurship on one side and free market on the other side, right? These are the two major things. And if that has to succeed, the evangelists of capitalism have to earn the respect of the society.
Very beautifully said, sir. Thank you. Sir, you have always said that discipline leads to performance, performance leads to respect, and respect leads to power and the ability to get things done. For the students and young professionals here today, what are one or two lessons from your journey would you emphasize as they seek to build institutions or organizations that truly serve the society?
Well, I think, at the end of the day, if you want to add more and more value to the society, and if you want more and more customers to be enrolled, you have to sell your products and services at a price which is within the disposable income of the population. Second, if you want to do that, then you must control your costs. You must ensure that you get value for money in everything that you do. And there must be a certain level of austerity in running your companies. And that austerity will only come if you, the leaders, lead by example. That's why, for me, the most important leader India has ever produced is Mahatma Gandhi, because he led by example. He walked the talk. So therefore, values will not come from speeches. values will come by your actions. And integrity is making sure that your words and actions match. So kindly keep that in mind and do it, and I have no doubt at all that you will take this country even further, and you will solve the problem of poverty that this country has.
Thank you so much for the advice, sir. I hope the students listen to that. Sir, thank you for those reflections. I have personally learned a great deal from you as a mentor over the years, and your thoughts today strongly reinforced my own belief in the importance of institution building.